Hello students, today we're going to be learning about simple predicates, which actually don't exist, funny enough, because simple predicates are just verbs. So in the last lesson we learned about simple subjects. Here we're looking about simple predicates, but as I already said, they're just the verbs of the sentence. So let's go ahead and get started. So there are really two types of verbs, okay? The first type of verb is an action verb, okay? An action verb tells what the subject does even when the action cannot be seen. So as I'm going through this, you will need to take these notes, okay? So if you need to pause at any time, feel free to pause. So let's go ahead and continue. Action verbs, they tell what the subject does even when the action cannot be seen. So let's take a look at this sentence right here. Pioneers made sawed bricks. Okay, first off, I would want to know what is the subject. What is this sentence about? Pioneers. And then to find my verb, I'm going to ask, what did my subject do? Well, what did they do? They made. So therefore, made is my action verb, and made is my action verb. Made is an action that I can see. Okay. Next sentence, they wanted a sturdy home. Okay. Can you see someone wanting something? Up here you can see someone making something, right? I could sit at a park bench and I could see someone making a sandcastle. But can I sit at a park bench and see someone wanting? No, not really. That's an action that happens inside of another person or inside of ourselves. So this is an action verb that we cannot see. What other action verbs can we not see? Well, what about love, right? Love is an action, but can you see someone doing it? No. So the first type of verb is an action verb, okay? Two types of verb, action verbs. Action verbs can be verbs that you can see and actions that you cannot see, okay? But what is the similar word in both of these definitions? Action. It's an action, 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 okay? It's something that you can see or may not see. So our first type of verb is what again? An action verb. Our second type of verb is a linking verb. And linking verbs tell what the subject is. Okay? It's called a linking verb because it links the subject to another word in the sentence. So let's take a look. Sawed houses are cool in hot weather. Well, the verb here is are. Okay? It links houses to cool. So what is my simple subject? Well, my simple subject is houses. But can you see someone are-ing? No, you can't see someone are-ing. So what is the verb's purpose here? It's linking my subject to another word in the sentence. That's why it's called a linking verb. It links subjects to other words in the sentence. Here it's linking houses to cool. So common linking verbs, and you will want to take this down. Any kind of forms of be. Okay, so that's is, am, are, was, were, been, being. There's going to be more common verbs, but I want you to really understand that be is one of the most common. And you might say, well, Mr. Larson, be doesn't sound like is, am, are, was, were, been, being. Well, that's because this is what we call an irregular verb. Okay. Regular verbs, for example, bake. If I say James bakes at night, or James baked yesterday, the verb bake stays the same. That's because this is a regular verb. Okay, and we're going to go more into this later. Be is an irregular verb, which means it changes. It changes from its original form into other forms depending on who the subject is or when the action happens. But it's very important for you to know that is, am, are, was, were, been, being are all the same verb, just in different time frames or with different subjects. Think about it. Think about the verb to be. Okay, a state of being. Isn't is a state of being? Yeah, if you look up is, it's a state of being. Am is a state of being. Are is a state of being. And when I say a state of being, existing, right? Isn't the house in a state of being? What state of being is it in? It's in a state of cool, right? So we're talking about how does it exist in life. This seems very complicated, I know, but all you really got to remember is that be is a linking verb and comes in many different forms. Was is a form of the verb be. Were is a form of the verb be. Been is a form of the verb be. But be is a irregular verb. That's why it changes in all these different situations. So let's go ahead and take a look at your exercises. Grammar page 11, practice and apply 1 through 10. Alright, so this is your first sentence. My great-grandparents lived in a sod house or soddy on the Kansas prairie. So the first thing I want to do is find my simple subject. What is this sentence about? Well, this sentence is about my great-grandparents. And then how do I find my predicate? Well, I ask, what does my simple subject do? So, what do my great-grandparents do? And if I look at the sentence, they lived. So my verb in this sentence is lived. Let's go to number 2. They traveled west from their home in Tennessee. Well, who or what is this sentence about? Well, my simple subject. Now, you're not going to say it's about the grandparents. No, remember we talked about what word is this about. So the word that this sentence is about is they. Now you're going to ask yourself, well, what did they do? Well, they traveled. So for the rest of your exercises on page 11, I want you to identify both those things. I want you to tell me what is the simple subject and what is the verb.